very much, and very good morning to all of you. Let me first thank Martin Wickramasinghe Trust, Somali, and also to Lakmahal for organizing this Martin Wickramasinghe Day at Lakmahal, and also I would thank you for coming to this event organized by jointly Wickramasinghe Trust and Lakmahal. It's an invitation that invited me a few months ago, so I accepted, but mainly my discussion and my presentation is not a very formal one. I thought I would prepare a few slides for the discussion, and I thought this is a new area that we need to explore more. So my interest in Martin Wickramasinghe's work mainly in the area of his philosophy of language and Sinhala usage, and mainly Wickramasinghe's association with Lakmahal as a journalist. And recently, last year, compiled a work titled Lakmahal Wickramasinghe for the Wickramasinghe for children and basically for the teachers as well. But this topic, notable friends and associates of Martin Wickramasinghe, is a new area that we need to explore, because as a scholar in the area of Sinhala language and also in linguistics, that we need to document the intellectual history of this country. So how 20th century scholars, especially both Sinhala scholars and also other Tamil and English scholars, they contributed to this intellectual dialogue, and also for the areas of different respective fields. So I thought that Wickramasinghe is a key figure in this discussion. So I thank Wickramasinghe Trust for organizing this event and also inviting a few people, and also to start a discussion on this interesting area of the intellectual history and the dialogue between different scholars in the 20th century. So I will just go through a few slides and discuss, and have a few quotes from his books and his writings also, and we can have a more detailed discussion later, or maybe I thought we will look into separate figures on their contribution later. So let me look at his profile. I think there is no introduction to Martin Wickramasinghe here, because all are familiar with his work. But what is interesting point that I need to focus throughout my presentation is that Wickramasinghe was not part of any specific school of thought. We look at the linguistic and literary landscape of 20th century. There were different schools. Like one is the monastic learning school, that is what we call the Pirivenas, the Vidyodaya, Vidyalankara, and the two main Pirivenas. So most of the leading scholars were attached to both Pirivenas, like Vidyodaya and Vidyalankara. So we know Wickramasinghe had a very limited education at a school. There was no such a formal education as a child. So he just went to Bonavista Vista, and then he had to go to another school, but not to any leading school in Goa, or went to Mind or Richmond. And other thing, then but most of the other scholars, especially the bhikkhus, they studied at in Pirive, Vidyodaya or Vidyalankara, or maybe other. And there was another school of thought that is basically in 1920s, we know very close by, the University College at the College House. So in 1921, when the University of College was started, University of Ceylon, Pali, Sanskrit, Sinhala were part of the Oriental learning. So there was a university college headed by Gunapala Malasekar, and there were other teachers, especially in the area. So Wickramasinghe was not part of that. That was one, the university education, and there were scholars, Sinhala scholars from universities. Like Prof. Kyarachi, even Pali Prof. Malasekar, and there were several, like even later Wickramasinghe's associate and friend Sarachan. So Wickramasinghe was not part of the indigenous movement. And there was another school of thought, that is the movement led by Munidasa Kumar. So it was contemporary of Martin Wickramasinghe, but different school of thought. So what is the interesting point is, as a literary figure, an author and an intellectual, he was not part of any specific school of thought, but Wickramasinghe maintained intellectual and literary connection with various scholars and literary figures of his time. So this is, we need to look into how Wickramasinghe, now he had many friends and associated from different schools of thought and many intellectual connections and dialogues with others. So we need to look at the literary landscape and the linguistic activities and the intellectual history of the period. We want to do a kind of a thorough study about Wickramasinghe's contribution. So we have earlier studies of Wickramasinghe focused mainly on his works. So I need to locate Wickramasinghe in a more socio-political and linguistic context, and to try to see his connections with other literary and linguistic personalities, not only linguistic but other personalities as well. So let me move on. So basically, aim of this presentation is to explore the personal. One aspect is personal. Is personal and professional relationships as well as intellectual dialogue. So we know as a writer, but Wickramasinghe his his profession was mainly at Lakmahal. He was a journalist and he was an editor of a Sinhala daily newspaper at Lakmahal. So that is, he had a kind of a professional relationship with many others. So that is professional. And to look at, to explore the personal and professional relationships as well as the intellectual dialogue between Wickramasinghe and his notable friends and also his associates. And so this is an overlooked aspect of his literary career. So there are several, but Wickramasinghe in his own work, he has mentioned about these scholars. But for the last few years, this aspect of Wickramasinghe's connections and his associations with his friends been overlooked. Aspect I think in future we need to encourage even my own students to look into these areas of Wickramasinghe's literary associations. So basically this presentation shows Wickramasinghe's association with contemporary literary figures and with notable personalities. I want to focus and pay attention to their literary career and their socio-political context they live. So basically this presentation will look into his career, the literary figures of the period, and also we need to locate them in their socio-political career. So the period that I am referring is the mid-20th century, in the 40s, 50s and up to 60s. But we know in mid-70s, Wickramasinghe passed away. Let me show a few slides. This is a very, we had a very busy week last week at the University of Colombo, my own department. We just completed our annual research symposium. So before that, I was able to look at one of these prepare for this presentation, the sources that I have referred. I would refer to one of these biography, Pandasita. So I have the first edition of Pandasita, and so it reflects on various literary figures of his time and association with them. So I'm not going to, in future there will be an English translation of Martin. This is not yet completed, but if you want to read the Sinhala translation, Sinhala version is still available. So it refers to many literary figures and also political figures and his associations with associate of Lakmahal. And another very interesting work that is overlooked by many writers and also by scholars. This was published by the Trust, Wickramasinghe Trust later, in about 24 years ago. Ape Viya Parapura Ha Bhasha Samaj Pana. So our intellectuals and they are referring to the language of the period. So this is a very interesting book. I have the first edition of this work. It refers to many personalities of the period like Kumaratunga, Jayatilaka, W. Silva, Kumaratunga and several others, contemporary literary scholars of the period, and also it refers to Wickramasinghe's connections, not only his connection, Wickramasinghe's insights about contemporary scholars. So this is very interesting to look at how Wickramasinghe look at others' work, especially. Now, for example, this refers not only to literary figures but artists like L.T.P. Manjushri, even other political figures like social reformers like Ponnambalam Ramana. So I think we need to translate this work into English as well, and there are several essays on SWRD as well. So they were, I don't know whether SWRD was an associate of Wickramasinghe, but this work is very important for a student who is interested in documenting literary and intellectual history of this country. And there's another book referring to learned scholars, especially the priests, the Buddhist priests of that time, especially like scholars like Polvatti Buddhadatta, Telvatti Amaravansa, Kalayana Majrajna. There's another work, but I'm not going to refer to for these Buddhist scholars. But basically, this work inspired me to do more research and a study of Wickramasinghe and his notable friends and associates. So, in this presentation, that will be now around even about 30 to 40 minutes, I thought I will give special attention to these figures. One is Midasa Kumar, right? Most of you are, but those who are not much familiar with these names, maybe I will give a brief introduction to who are they. And W. Silva, Dirivira Sarakchandra, G.B. Senanayaka, as well as, they were mainly literary figures like Kumaratunga, W. Silva, Sarakchandra and Senanayaka. But there are other personalities. There are many, but I have selected for this talk very few. D.R. Jawan, the owner and the owner of the lake house at that time. And M.D. Gunasinghe. Again, it's a notable figure at that time, but I don't know any discussion. We know about M.D. Gunasinghe as a publisher. And also foreign scholars like Professor Joseph Needham. There were many, but this is limited. My presentation is limited to these figures, but maybe later we need to do a thorough study about Wickramasinghe's friends, famous friends and associates. We need to do look into the other personalities as well. So basically, I will start with D.R. John. Right. So D.R. Jayawardena, D.R. was a Pescaran, was the owner of the lake house. Then this was in the period that I am referring, Wickramasinghe. I have written this sometime back. It was published by the Trust, Martin Wickramasinghe's journalistic career in Sinhala. It's a small booklet and it's already here available. I have discussed this in detail in my book. But here, it's very interesting to see the founder of the Lake House group of newspapers, and he was a significant, was not in terms of, he was not a politician, but had a lot of other political connections with contemporary figures like V.S. Serenai. So Wickramasinghe started his journalistic career at Lake House in 1920s, right? So before joining Lake House, Wickramasinghe wrote several articles to Dinami. So topics he covered, if you look at the topics he covered, like Leo Tolstoy, Friedrich Nietzsche, Charles Darwin. So in early, especially before, it was in early 1920s, he wrote several articles on scientific subjects to educate the Sinhala reading public on, and also to referring to figures, personalities like Friedrich Nietzsche, Tolstoy, Darwin, and many others. So before joining Lake House, Wickramasinghe as a writer, he contributed to many Sinhala newspapers, mainly Dinamina, and finally he became editor of Sinhala daily newspaper Dinamina, and also for a short period he was the editor of the Slimin as well. So we know that both Wickramasinghe and D.R. Jayawardena, they were influential figures shaping different aspects of the country. We know about there is a separate biography of D.R. Jayawardena by H.T. Gurukala. So it covers D.R.W.'s impact on the cultural and intellectual and the political landscape of the period. So I need to look into, especially, but in terms of the age, Wickramasinghe, Martin Wickramasinghe and Jayawardena, they were contemporaries. Wickramasinghe was born in 1890 and D.R.W. was just few years elder to him. So Wickramasinghe's career is very interesting because journalistic career from 20s to 40s, 20 years at Lake House, right? At that time, Wickramasinghe lived in Mount Lavinia, so he had his own press called Mount Press, right? This is another area that we need to look into. I've discussed this with Martin also. Wickramasinghe as a printer. So Wickramasinghe's initial training is in the area of journalism. So that's why his writings are more more approachable to the public. So he wrote several articles daily to Dinamina in various pseudonyms like Maurapad and so many other columns, editorials, Sinhala newspapers. So as a journalist at Lake House enabled him to form friendships with contemporary scholars. So this is very interesting because as a journalist, he associated with many other scholars. Now, if you look at this is in 1946 when he left Lake House. He was there for 10 years as Dinamina editor. Especially literary figures like the person who is standing in the back row, in the left hand. So anyone can see who is there in the left hand standing. He is the famous Sinhala story writer G.B. Serenai, right? Because G.B. Serenai. So G.B. Serenai, I'll be looking to that. So the next person is this, next to Martin Wickramasinghe, the right hand side is P.S. Nissank, another associate, but I'm not referring to him today. But long, he served long time at Lake House. So Wickramasinghe's journalistic career and his associations are very important to look at Wickramasinghe's contribution to this country. So that is an area that we did look at. So as a journalist, he had many relationships not only with Sinhala journalists but also with English. Now, the volume that published later called Sage of Koggala, there is one chapter by H.H. Huluga. He was the editor of the Daily News for many years, and also he was the biographer of D.R. Vijayawardena biography. So Hulugala says, H.H. Hulugala says about his association with Wickramasinghe at Lake. So this is a very interesting aspect of Wickramasinghe's work and his contribution. When you look at the Martin Wickramasinghe as a journalist. So there are a few articles, and based on that we compiled a book a few years back. So this is referring to. So this is the book that I mentioned. So, as the editor of Dinamina, Wickramasinghe had to interact with DRW, Vijayawardena. So I'm not going to go into detail. There are so many references in Pandasika, in this autobiography about DRW, right? So his close relationship, not only as owner of this, so that relationship shows a relationship between a journalist and a press owner, press guy. So we know, I don't know whether there are any journalists here. I can remember still, before entering my university, that there was a backlog. So I worked for a English newspaper at Sunday Times. You know how the journalists and the editors and the owners of a newspaper institution work. So this is a very interesting relationship with DR. So DR always consulted MW, Wickramasinghe, various aspects. So there are a lot of dialogues in Upandasika about Wickramasinghe and DRW's relationship. It shows a relationship between an editor and a press owner. Issues related to the management of a newspaper. Not only management of a newspaper, but also on editorial matters. There are several. I can have a separate lecture on that. But how Wickramasinghe and DRW discuss various socio-political matters related to that era. Especially one aspect was the official language problem. Even Wickramasinghe wanted to writes few editorials and the DRW's insights on them. So Wickramasinghe refers to these things in Pandasika. Now I have quoted one very interesting quote from Pandasika. Hope you can understand Sinhala. So Ma Kasada Benda Pasu Vijayawardena Mage Padiya Digunekin medical aid. Oge Duradakna Numanat Shurakamat Mata Vatune in Pasue. So even at that I can remember maybe Isha you may know, but it was the year that Wickramasinghe got married?
1925.
Huh?
1925.
1925. So that was the period. 1925. Thank you, Isha. Right. 1925, Wickramasinghe got married with Prema. So I think at that time they were in Koggala. So Koggala, I don't know Mount. I can remember. So Wickramasinghe.
She was in Koggala.
She was in Koggala, and so that DRW know that this Wickramasinghe will travel to Koggala every week. So how to manage a newspaper? So he said, I don't know whether are there any other press owner who doubles the salary after getting married, after marriage. So he said, see, Kasadu and the Pasu Vijayawardena Mage Padiya Degune double his salary, right? So why? To keep him, to avoid him going to Koggala, to add staying in Colombo. So it was somewhere in Mount Level. So it's very interesting. There are so many other interests. So it says, Oge Duradakna Nona, his foresighted kind of knowledge and his ability as a person. So it's and even in this book, there is a separate after his on his death of Vijayawardena, Wickramasinghe wrote a very interesting article to Dinamina about the Arna. So it shows this. I have quoted this. So this is very so it shows both the professional and personal. So what it is as a between an editor and so it's not only a kind of professional relation, but also at personal level. DRW and also DRW's respect for Martin Wickramasinghe, so both had a kind of a mutual respect for both of them. So this is about DRW. Yeah. Yeah, so but we can have the discussions later, but I will just quickly show something. MD Gunasinghe. So MD Gunasinghe is a different caliber of person. It's not much compared to DRW. I don't know whether anybody knows about the MD Gunasinghe's career. So DRW's career is well known, well documented, and also there are several. Every year there is a DRW Jawad and so on. So another important character, especially, was MD Gunasinghe. So Martin Wickramasinghe knew him as a printer before the establishment of Gunasinghe. So Gunasinghe was established, I can't remember the exact year, but it's in early 20th century. Still, it's one of the oldest bookshops in South Asia or maybe in Asia. Because Wickramasinghe says in his Upandasita, අවුරුදු 40ක් පමණ, about 40 years that they associated with MD Gunasinghe. And it says Vishal Dhanawatuku U Paswadu. We know it later. MD Gunasinghe became a wealthy person, and he started his career as a printer. And even when Wickramasinghe started his own press at Mount Lavinia, called Mount Press, he bought few old machines, printing machines from MD Gunasinghe. And also the Sinhala letters, Apuru. And then with Kure's, there was another typographer called Kure and Sons. He bought few the Sinhala typos from Kure and also from MD Gunasinghe and another old printer from the Gunasinghe press. So it's called earlier, before starting this MD Gunasinghe company, it's called the Victor Press, Victor. So this was how. So this connection is also important, and it's all, as you can see, it's also in terms of age, 1893, contemporary of Martin Wickramasinghe, 1893. But he lived for, it's not lived for many years. It's like. So what is this? What is this logo? MD Gunasinghe. No, the Gunasinghe comment. No, who depicts? What is the depicts? Yeah, this is good. Sandagomi, this is good. Right? Okay, so this is what means this good logo. So Wickramasinghe provides a very interesting account on the birth of this logo. Right? I don't know whether anybody aware of this. Okay? So it says in this book, in this article, I'm not going to refer to about MD Gunasinghe. I'm not going to detail because it's already there. It says now the company logo of MD Gunasinghe company was initially, this says, now this Wickramasinghe says, Batuan Tuda Way Panipai was one. Now Wickramasinghe published his, there is one of his early publications called Sahityodaya Katha. He wrote a very interesting book for school, basically for the as a textbook for the schools at that time called Sahityodaya Katha. It covers the history of Sinhala literature, right? And in this, for the cover paper, another area, Wickramasinghe was so concerned, was so particular about his own work, especially as a printer, the cover, everything. Even if you look at the Wickramasinghe's early works, his cover page, even the cover designs also, he had his own kind of perspective and insight for that. So he says, when in his Pandasita and also in this book, he says, he has asked G.S. Fernando, one of the artists at that time, when G.S. Fernando, I don't know whether he was part of the pottery group, but G.S. Fernando, I think, was part of the Gunasena company also. So he has asked G.S. Fernando to draw a kind of a painting with the mixture of these colors. Batuan Tudave Pandituma. This was referring to Batuan Tudave Devaraksha, one of the top Oriental scholars in the late 19th century. Batuan Tudave Devarakshita. His image and Pahan Katituma means there was one of the first registered newspaper, Lakmini Pahan, the editor of the Lakmini Pahan, Matra Dharmara. His image, image and another two priests. Batuan Tudave Panditumage, Pahan Katittumage ha Yatiwarayan Dedunuge Charupa Bala. A mixture of those four and draw a Hakulua, which summarize those, like if you want to get Professor Sirit and all the others, and make another drawing of another person, right? And I asked G.S. Pranamatra, Gunasena Saapwedi Mama Yutanaki, and the Gunasena bookshop, Wickramasinghe has suggested G.S. Fernando to draw this, right? Oh, and the Chitra, that drawing, in 1932, Mage Sahityode Katave, Bukke Chitra, as the cover page. I don't know whether, you must have that in your archives. You must find that original. But I will, next time we put it into that, the original cover of Sahityode Katha. May Sittama, Asurin, G.S. Pranam and Kuda, this is a line drawing, right? So this line drawing became later became the logo of MD Gunasena. So MD Gunasena is also, logo is also a creation of Martin Wickramasinghe. Now it's, I don't know whether, I don't know who has the copyright for this logo. So now it's Pajiva. Right. So it's logo Gunasena company, it became Sandagomi. So it shows this, the MD Gunasena, maybe the MD Gunasena is made, as I mentioned, when he started the Gunasena company, and it became the logo of this. This is interesting to me. Okay, so quickly we will few others to talk. Unidas Kumar, area that I have worked a lot in my research and publications in the last 25 years. I've written a lot about Wickramasinghe, not only about Wickramasinghe but also about Kumaratunga. So with Unidas Kumaratunga, it's a senior contemporary, but it's only just 3 years older than Martin Wickramasinghe. And Kumaratunga's Hele movement was critical of Wickramasinghe's linguistic ideology. I have already documented this in other publications in both in Sinhala and English. And Wickramasinghe's linguistic ideology, while Kumaratunga focused on Sinhala grammar and editing Sinhala classical. So Wickramasinghe's focus was different. So Wickramasinghe focused on classical Sinhala. He wrote several critical surveys on Sinhala classical literature, but never edited any classical of Sinhala. Amavaturo, Jataka Pota, he never edited any classical works, but he had done critical surveys. So while Wickramasinghe concentrated mainly on developing Sinhala literary genres, like short story, novel, and so on. So Wickramasinghe refers to Kumaratunga in several of his publications. One is Pandasika, mainly Pandasika, and there are other, even in this book, there is 1, 2, 3 articles Wickramasinghe contributed to various newspapers and magazines, and Wickramasinghe was fully aware of Kumaratunga's linguistic project. When I read Wickramasinghe's writings about Kumaratunga, I think he knew what is Munidas Kumartunga's ideology. So we know in terms of linguistics, Kumartunga was a purist. He was a purist, like in the linguistic purist, Parishud Bhasha, Parishuddhata, purity of language. So Wickramasinghe knew that Kumartunga was a purist, but he provided a critical evaluation of his work. I think one of the best critiques of Kumartunga's works is Wickramasinghe, not the Helaholus ones, right? Even now. But however, the relationship remained friendly and courteous. So that's very interesting. Now to look at the kind of both the political and literary kind of relationships are not friendly. Now what is interesting is the same period, both Kumartunga's career we know, he was a teacher and later he became a principal of a school and later a school inspector, and he had to was not part of the government service, but he devoted his career for literary pursuits. So Munidas Kumaratunga, and they were the Kumaratungas from Dikwella, but he started his work in Panadura and associated with many other personalities in the Colombo. Wickramasinghe also in the same period. So Wickramasinghe refers to these figures. See, I'll translate a few parts of this. Now, at that time, this referred to period is 1930s, right? So 1930s, Wickramasinghe was at the Lake House. And Kumaratunga also was part of the same literary kind of activities, and his press was somewhere in Panadura, and also he worked with several other close friends in Colombo. Dawal camp, this referred to a lunchtime discussions. Lunchtime discussions of Munidas Kumaratunga and Martin Wickramasinghe. It's very interesting. Dawal camp kanta Tharuna Christiani, this is YWCA. YMCA, right? Thank you. YMCA. YMCA, Bojunhalata, Dawasak Pasa Gamer. He daily went to this YMCA for lunch. Lake House and YMCA is close. Very close, right? So, and this is but fortnightly, Varak Devarak Begin, Kumartunga Matam. So he met Kumartunga fortnight, not day. Right? Depatte Putu Degawadi in this, right? They were had the so both are too critical about it. Depatte Putu Degawadi, Ekamese Kamakapi. So they had lunch together. They have discussed several topics. But this is not Ma Mudin Boda. Atavishyam Mudinda, maybe the grammar, Sanskrit, Pali, linguistics, or especially not in terms of the current terms of linguistics, but the philology, the comparative philology. Kumaratunga kiwa mama piligati. I accepted Kumaratunga. Daneteo mama piligati. Daneteo piligati next one. Right? Athan bita in kala nigamane nopiligena mama uwa. That's why I argued with him. I argued with him. Sometimes I didn't accept it, but I argued. And again, another essay, Wickramasinghe says, Mama Udipukala Kasuru Kalami. I had a long relationship with him. Virane had, except grammar. Virane had a Boho Karmu Gana Satyakata Varab Devarak be Vadakal. So he didn't want to debate about topics on grammar with Kumaratunga, but with other subjects, there was a controversy. Tama Nodanna Vishya Pilibada, Yamuru Sankalpak. If Kumaratunga doesn't know any subject in detail, whether Vatahagata Putula Buddhya, a kind of a very broad knowledge, and Tirunuvana, very sharp knowledge. Otatibi. So it's very interesting that the respect that Martin Wickramasinghe had for Kumaratunga. So both of them were contemporaries, but Wickramasinghe had a very critical, but at the same time courteous and respect for Munidasa Kumaratunga, right? But we know that Kumaratunga lived for 57 years, right? 57 years. So this is he was passed away in 1944. This is 4 years before the independence. So Munidasa Kumaratunga, right? So NW wrote an editorial to Sinhala Daily, Dinamini 1944, on the occasion of Kumaratunga's death. So this is interesting. This is also appeared in other publications as well. The point that I need to focus is that there are differences in the linguistic style. So Wickramasinghe focused mainly on the contemporary linguistic style, but Kumaratunga wanted to reform the language according to the earlier classical works. That's why we say the purist. But both Wickramasinghe and Kumaratunga shared deep commitment to the enrichment of the Sinhala literature, and there was a mutual respect between the two. That's very important. So how Wickramasinghe says about both of them, there are different similar references are there in Upandasika and also in this Apevya Parapura essays, right? So that's Kumaratunga, and the next one, I'm happy that the Secretary of the W.S. Foundation, Mr. Cleverton, is also here. The next very important, notable figure is W.S. So his literary work also happened in Colombo, right? So most of, I don't know, but W.S. is not from down south. It was from Colombo, from Velavan, right? Velavan. Both of these Kumaratunga, they were from south. Right, W.S. So another important figure, literary figure, W.A. Silva was known for his popular novels. You know, we have to accept that historical fact that before Munidasa Kumar, before Wickramasinghe's novels became popular, in 1920s and 30s, the popular novelist was W.A. Silva. His works, like many of his work, later became films like Kalahanda. So he was one of the best known novelists at that time, right? Popular, I mean, not only in terms of kind of literary terms, but it was one of the popular. Known for his popular novels that captivated the single reading public up to 1950s. In 1930s, 50s, W.A. Silva was the main figure, right? Silva and Wickramasinghe were part of the same literary circles because they both worked for Wickramasinghe was editor of Sinhala Daily and a weekly, and at the same time in 1930s, W.A. Silva was the editor of another Sinhala weekly newspaper called Lanka Samet. Lanka Samet, at National Archives find the history. So several literary discussions were there. So it brings to this is again, this photograph is also not very popular with the pipe and all. I can't put this figure in a school lecture because the smoking is prohibited. So I will die. So I like this because I took this photograph from the Rasavahini, from my father's library. So it's a very nice photograph of W.A. Silva, but some of the photographs probably it's not very. It's a live photo, yes, of W.A. Silva. And their literary styles were different, right? So it's interesting to look at W.A. Silva, this again, same age in 1890, another contemporary associate of Martin Wickramasinghe, because both of them were in the same, work for the same literary genre, because it's novels and short stories. There is a separate, this is published by the Trust later, a literary debate between Silva and Wickramasinghe on the topic of Sinhala novel in the Sinhala Weekly. So this is refers to I think it's 1920s. So there was a Sinhala weekly newspaper called Swadesha Mitra. Swadesha Mitra was edited by another leading Sinhala journalist called D.W. Wickramasinghe, who served at the lake house with Martin Wickramasinghe, and later he started in 1924. D.W. Wickramasinghe started the Sinhala weekly newspaper called Swadesh Mitra. So, to counter Swadesh Mitra, B.R. Vijayawardena started another Sinhala weekly called Silumini in 1930. Right? So this was how the literary kind of and journalistic activities at that time. So Wickramasinghe wrote a series of articles to Swadesha Mitra, Sinhala Weekly, and W. Silva replied to it. Now later both these articles are published as separate. Now it's interesting. W. Silva kerehi mama behaving පැහැදුනේ. So I became very pleased about his work. උගතුකු මෙන්ම කරුණු දක්වන සමහර මතාන්තර, some opinions. සදොස් බව, සදොස් means it is wrong. හෙලි කරන්න බෑ. මම දිනමිනට බැඳී. When I joined දිනමින, බැඳී කොළඹ ආපසු. When I came to W. Silva මමත් ඉතා හොඳ මිත්‍රයන් ලෙස ආශ්‍රය කළා. So both of us were very good friends. But they worked different. ඒ කාලේ අප දෙදෙනා සතියකට වරක් හමු වී weekly they met හමු වී සාහිත්‍ය වෙනත් දේ ගැන කතා බහ කරා. So we discussed various topics related to literature and other topics. So but it's interesting. This says in his essays in the Pandasita and also in this work. So W. Silva is another very important figure that we need to look at how Martin Wickramasinghe's and W. Silva's association with reference to literary debates of the period. So this was the period in 1930s, 40s. The Sinhala reading public question. So what is the kind of the characteristics of a good novel, short story. So these discussions were part of the Sinhala literary circles according to W. Silva and Wickramasinghe. Right. Another notable friend, associate, and a scholar. So I think you can have a separate forum on this relationship, Sarat Chandra and Wickramasinghe. So there were so many unexplored facts, resources are there, maybe especially in the Padasita and also Sarat Chandra's his autobiography, looking at the Sarasai Varamakrene, and also we may in future we may need to look at the archives of Wickramasinghe, look into more details about it, especially the letters of it. So this brief kind of survey is based on two books. One is Pandasita and Wickramasinghe, Sarat Chandra's autobiography. I think this also we need to translate it to English. It's only in Sinhala thing and Sarasai Varamakrene is Sarat Chandra's autobiography. So it was published in 1988. The relationship between Wickramasinghe and Sarat Chandra, it was a very interesting one. Both were prominent figures in the Sinhala literature. You say the modern Sinhala, I would say it should be modern Sinhala literature, both of prominent. Sarat Chandra described his association with Wickramasinghe in his autobiography, looking at Sarasai Varamakrene, and you know the Sarat Chandra's, you may know about his early background. So Sarat Chandra, as I said earlier, he was a student at the University College, where at the Faculty of Oriental Studies, where Professor Sarat Chandra was the head. Right? So at that time, Edivira Sarat Chandra, he was Justus Reginald de Silva, E.R.S. de Silva. So Justus Reginald de Silva was student at the University College. He studied Pali, and even his PhD is in the Buddhist psychology of perception. It was in the Pali. He was a was recruited as a lecturer in Pali. Right? Appointment was in 1942 when the University of Ceylon was established. Saratchandra was recruited as a lecturer in Pali, not in Sinhala. So basically his training is in Pali language and Indian philosophy. So Saratchandra's early interest in examining the modern Sinhala fiction and his writings on Sinhala literary criticism was mainly due to his close association with Martin Wickramasinghe in 1940s. So after returning from Shantiniketan in so he went after his graduation from BA from University of London, that is from Colombo, from the University of Ceylon, Saratchandra went to Shantiniketan. So he went to Shantiniketan and returned in 1944, and he got a teaching post at St. Thomas's at Mount Levy, and he lived in Mount Levy, Saratchandra. So at that time, Wickramasinghe also, his house was in the Samudra Road, and Saratchandra says he lived somewhere, I don't know whether this refers to this is close by, walking distance. And, but there are several passages about Wickramasinghe, but I'm not going to read out these now. His close association with Wickramasinghe in the 1940s. So, Saratchandra says how he became interested in modern Sinhala literature. It was mainly due to Martin Wickramasinghe, not Wickramasinghe. Saratchandra's later writings on Sinhala literary criticism was not a part of his academic training. Saratchandra's academic training was in Pali and Indian philosophy. Right? So he went to Shantiniketan and started working on his doctoral work, and later submitted to the University of London. Right? So then he returned to Colombo, and when he was a teacher at St. Thomas's, he had the chance of meeting Martin Wickramasinghe. This is what. Galkisse Vase, my residence in Mount Lavinia, Malibu Vipula Pravachane Nam Martin Wickramasinghe Mata Samaga Ashwet Vatima. So there are several references to Martin Wickramasinghe. Even at one point, Wickramasinghe has invited Saratchandra family, the couple, to stay at their home. Right? There is one reference. So it shows Wickramasinghe Mahata Samaga Ashwaya Mage Jnana Patya, it's a broadened mind, the kind of this horizons of his knowledge. Wickramasinghe Mahatage Kruti Adhyayana Kirimen Pasu Vartamana Sinhala Sahitya Shreshthaya Sambandha Mage Kutuhale. So my curiosity was mainly due to the study of Martin Wickramasinghe's works on modern Sinhala. Okay. I was having a Pilibalav, Purul Pareshana Krivada. So this was in 1940s. Wickramasinghe says that he started researching on what modern Sinhala literature. Now we consider Martin Saratchandra as one of the leading scholars, leading researchers in the field of modern Sinhala literature. We say Wickramasinghe and both Saratchandra. So Mage Kutuhale, so my curiosity was mainly due to after studying Wickramasinghe's works. So there are, I've just quoted few, there are many references on Wickramasinghe and Saratchandra's association when he lived there. And there's another reference when after that Saratchandra got another kind of a post at Lake House. Then Jayawardena offered another post at Lake House, and he also said that Wickramasinghe he's also very fun. It's a rare when I wrote a separate article on Saratchandra, this young Saratchandra in the mid years. In 43, Saratchandra wrote a very interesting kind of pioneering work called modern Sinhala fiction. So that was in 1943. He was a lecturer in Pali at the first University of Ceylon was established at the University at the College House, right? So the forward for this book, Modern Sinhala Fiction, was written by Malasekara, and in this work, Sarat Chandra assesses the literary work of modern Sinhala writers, both W. Silva, Pida Sirisena, including Martin Wickramasinghe. So this is the first time that the English reading public became aware of the Sinhala reading, modern Sinhala literature. Before that, there was no such a book on modern Sinhala. There was, by James Dalvis wrote a survey. This was up to about 18th, 17th century. But so this was the first book wrote on assessing the literary work of modern Sinhala writer for the English reading public. So this was later revised as the Sinhalese novel in 1950s, modern Sinhala fiction. But both the Hela Howler and the W. Silva critiqued this work. So the W. Silva, Sarat Chandra was critique about Wickramasinghe, and there were several kind of arguments and debates at that time. So both Wickramasinghe and Sarat Chandra were committed to examining and revitalizing the Sri Lankan culture, but their methods were varied. So they were not the same way. Wickramasinghe, because Sarat Chandra had a kind of academic training at the University College, then at Shantiniketan, and later at University of London. So Wickramasinghe's the literary career is different. So, but both were committed to examining the Sri Lankan culture, especially literature. So this relationship we need to explore more and look at to locate their relationship in the literary landscape and the linguistics landscape of the period. So this, yeah, I think Sarat Chandra, yeah, so that's one. So this very important landmark. In 1949, this was Sarat Chandra's, that's why I said earlier, mentioned we need to, there are several aspects of this relationship. In 1949, but Sarat Chandra translated Wickramasinghe's Sinhala Sahitya Nagim into English. Right? I have the one is from my father's library. I can read. Because first it was translated as Sinhalese literature, published by Gunaseena, and later was landmarks of Sinhala. So in 1949, it was a lecturer. I don't know who invited, I don't know whether Wickramasinghe invited Sarat Chandra to translate his Sinhala Sahitya Nagim, or it was the intention of Sarat Chandra to translate Sinhala. So Sinhala Sahitya Nagim is also here, the copy is there. So both books are here. We will have the translation of Sahitya. So Sinhala Sahitya Nagim is the first Sinhala kind of a critique, or a kind of a survey of classical Sinhala literature from earliest times to 18th century. Right? So this is one of the key, now it was not still, it's a key text for a student in Sinhala language or literature anywhere, whether it is a Piriveda or in a university, you have to study Sinhala Sahitya Nagim. So it was published in 1946 and at the University of Colombo. I think we had a separate, during the COVID, we had a Zoom seminar also to discuss this impact of Sinhala Sahitya Nagim in Sinhala scholarship. So here, Wickramasinghe, Sarat Chandra's note to this translator's note is very important. In this work, Sarat Chandra says this book, that is Sahitya Nagim, from the pen of a well-known author of our day, is the first attempt to make a critical assessment of the ancient literature of the Sinhalese. I am grateful to the author for the liberties he has allowed me with his book, liberties that a translator is not ordinarily given. So why Sarat says this? Now, if you read the Sinhala work of Sinhala Sahitya Nagim, there are so many, because Sarat Chandra had a kind of initial academic training, so Yeah, this is the new edition, the landmarks of Sinhala literature, right? So I don't know whether this first translator's note is here, but this here, yes, because the second edition is say 1963. I mean this note is not appeared in this new edition, but look at the first. So in the Sinhala work, there are so many other areas. Maybe some of it from academic point of view, as from in terms of academic writing, some of these six paragraphs are unnecessary. So Sarachandra, he didn't translate those areas. I can refer, but I don't have time. So he says that Wickramasinghe has given a liberty to Sarachandra to translate his work on his own work called Landmarks of Sinhala. So this became very popular among the English reading public as well. So it's interesting, both the Wickramasinghe's literary modern, not only modern work, but even his critical works were translated by Sarachandra. I don't know whether, and even this the first draft of the first English translation of the Sinhala Sahitya Nagima was like Sarachandra says was like read by Professor E.F.C. Ludowite, Professor of English at that time at Colombo, at the University of Scotland. He refers to, he acknowledged the help that he received from Professor E.F.C. Ludowite, the Professor of English. So it shows how the Sinhala literary public, Sinhala literary scholars and the English reading public associated, like in what we need to, what is lacking today. So the Sinhala literary circles are separately they are working, and English literary circles, they have their own activities. But if you look at the, about another 80 years ago, or maybe 75 years ago, so this was not the situation. It was completely different phenomenon. Okay, up and down. So very quickly, another very interesting figure, G.B. Seranayake. We know G.B. Seranayake is very famous short story writer. His first short story collection, Duppatun Nati Loke, was part of the prescribed work for many years in secondary schools in 1960s and 50s, and it was very popular as a short story writer. Especially his one of his short story, Nidhane, became a very popular film, right? Because the Nidhane film is by Resident Spirits, but the plot is based on G.B. Seranayake's short story Nidhane. So Wickramasinghe was the editor of the Dinamina newspaper and recognized the value of Seranayake's contribution to Sinhala literature. So Seranayake, G.B. Seranayake, wrote several short stories to Dinamina, and Wickramasinghe, as the editor of the Dinamina, he recognized, he identified Seranayake's writing and invited him to join their cause, and he introduced G.B. Seranayake to D.R. Vijayavan. So then Seranayake became a journalist at Dinamina newspaper. Right? So in Upandhasika, there are several references about G.B. Seranayake, and another contribution is that G.B. Seranayake's first short story collection, Duppatun Nati Loke, was published, I can remember the year, maybe 1940s, was published at Mount Press in Mount Lavinia. So how Wickramasinghe helped young, not young, but it's for new literary writers. Now, again, there is an interesting personal kind of, I said both professional and personal. Personal kind of a Seranayake man, right? Hamada Raihi. Both of them are journalists, but you work, I know, if you have any experience in working for a newspaper, you know, you have to go and home around 2 o'clock. I can remember as a very young journalist, not as a sub-editor, Sunday Times, I went home around 2 o'clock in the morning, right? So maybe on a Saturday, right? So Samada, Senanayakat Maat, Hamada Rai, Dumriya Palatek, 4th station, Pine Gaman Kale. So they work towards this railway station, Pine Gaman Kale, Navakata. So Naval, Harani Sahitya, Anik Sahitya Karunak Gana Kata. So they just walk up to the 4th station, talking about Sinhala. Api dedena detun satyekata warak hamu wi atam vita hawas wanaturu sahitya gana katha ba kirime santosha wi. So we satisfied, we enjoyed the discussions on about once a week up to in the afternoon about topics. So it shows very interesting relationship with, but compared to Wickramasinghe, Senanayak was a junior contemporary of Martin. He was born in 1913. And even like Sarat Chandra was in 1940. It was like Sarat Chandra and Senanayak were, Sarat Chandra was 14 and both of them were junior contemporary of Martin. Finally, I think I can finish within just a few minutes. Anyway, I've heard about Joseph Needham, right? So Joseph Needham, well-known intellectual, and in Cambridge there is a separate center called Joseph Needham Institute still. So he was a professor at the University of Cambridge, and also he was a biochemist, historian of science. He wrote several volumes, he edited several volumes on the history of Chinese science and technology, published by the Cambridge University Press. It's still available in any good library. And he was called a sinologist, so it was called sinologist in terms of research. And Needham was aware of some of his Sarat Chandra's work, Wickramasinghe's work, even before his arrival to Colombo. He was invited by the then government in 1958, government Sri Lanka, to look into the investigate, appointed as the chairman of a committee of commission looking into the university education in this country. There is a lengthy report on Needham Commission, right? But you know what happens is most of the committees are now resting at the archives, right? So this report is also resting in shelves, right? It was not resting in peace, or resting in archives. So this is very important. The Needham Commission report. He was the chairman of that committee. There were several. In 1958, at the invitation of the government of Sri Lanka, Needham came to Sri Lanka to act as the chairman of the committee of scholars appointed to investigate the report on the universities of Sri Lanka. So 58, so that was how Needham looked into the various aspects, this whole committee looked into the various aspects of university education, right? Maybe it was maybe it's a, so he looked at this, because now it didn't happen because in 59 both the Vidyalakar became two universities, so these commission reports were not consulted. Right? So what is the significance of Needham then? There are several other this is foreign associate, foreign friend of this. So it was Professor Needham who referred to Wickramasinghe as the sage of Koggala. In Sinhala we say Koggala Maha Prajna. It was not the first term. We say Koggala Maha Prajna. Basically it was first introduced him as what? No. It was first introduced, referred to him as sage of Koggala in his essay of Joseph Needham. He contributed to this Wickramasinghe volume, this presentation volume published in 1975 or something, right? So in this work, during my stay in Ceylon in the spring and summer of 1958, so that's what he came to Colombo. One of the things that I most enjoyed and appreciated was the opportunity of getting to know Martin Wickramasinghe one of the most outstanding of Lanka's intellectual, a truly original thing. This is very important. He says a truly original, I mean, we need to focus that phrase, a truly original thinker and writer in literature and social science. So it refers to the Needham's association with Martin Wickramasinghe at Rajgiri, at now. And he wrote later he wrote a separate one. And I had because during my doctoral work, I had the opportunity to see this library. So there is a separate collection, separate rack of books donated by Martin Wickramasinghe to Needham. So autograph. And say Dr. Joseph Needham, can I read it here from? So it's signed by Martin Wickramasinghe. Now it's part of the Needham Research Institute at Cambridge, and a few years back I had the chance of donating some copies of Wickramasinghe archives also. All these works are in the complimentary copies he gave to Needham during his visit, and was there are several references to Martin Wickramasinghe. The Needham Research Institute in Cambridge was a collection of all the Wickramasinghe's English books there. Right. In 78, Professor Needham delivered the Wickramasinghe Memorial Oration. That's also we need to very interesting topic, but it's nothing to it's not related to any Wickramasinghe's work, but it's about the science and technology. Okay, so I think I'm already discussed few areas. Let me just also need to look at other. So apart from the above mentioned personalities, Wickramasinghe also had personal and professional relations with individuals like Venerable Velavithiya Sorar, but that I have not explored, I have not mentioned in my presentation. Venerable Akureti Amaravansa, even like Catholics, priests like bishops like Father Edmund Piris. There is a reference, there is one article on Edmund Piris here. Father S.J. Veerasinghe from the Methodist Church, who did a lot of service, a lot of contribution to the Sinhala translation of the Bible, Father S.J. Veerasinghe, and again a close associate of Martin Wickramasinghe. He is an Nisanka, one of the senior journalists at Lake House, who was the editor of the Silumina and also Dinamina at Lake House. H.H. Hurugal, and only person, one of the leading personalities, literary person like Guldas Amarasekar, K. Jayatilaka, and Gunasena Vitan, who passed away recently, and one of our, even our good friend, Mr. Jayaniti, who is part of the Wickramasinghe Trust and the data associate of Martin Wickramasinghe in terms of collaboration. So these friendships and associations represented different schools of thought. So like W. Silva, Sarat Chandra Kumar, they were attached to different schools of thought and within the same literary landscape. So what is we need to look at is the friendships and personality extended beyond personal association. So I mentioned just very little kind of little aspects of these relationships. They were instrumental in shaping the course of literature, establishing him as central figure. So these associations and friendships were part of the Wickramasinghe's career, and it provided the kind of forum to establish Wickramasinghe as a central figure in the cultural scene. Now, for example, it was mainly due to Sarat Chandra's work, critical essay, critical work on one single fiction. So that's after that, most of the universities and especially literary elite of that time look at Wickramasinghe's work as most of the best novels of the period. And also, Wickramasinghe was so enthusiastic about the current trends in literature. So he has discussed these things with other scholars like W. Silva and also with Sarat Chandra, and he knew these things both locally and internationally. And there is another aspect that Wickramasinghe travels to other countries. Like So at that time, the Soviet Russia, to China, to India. So he knew all these things, and there's a Wickramasinghe's this travel note says about, and there was keen awareness of the socio-political context of the literacy. So I will stop here, but we can have a discussion. And these are the few sources that I have utilized for this very brief, very quick presentation that I was able to prepare, and not in detail, in a more academic manner. But I feel let me again thank the Martin and the Lakmahal inviting me to revisit this aspect of Martin Wickramasinghe, as I said earlier, a lesser known aspect and less research area of Martin Wickramasinghe's contribution to this time. So thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you very much, Professor Sandagomi. We are a little short on time, so we're going to start the movie in a few minutes. If you want to take a quick break.